Hey guys, today I'm going to begin a new series of videos where I discuss the staples for each style in the Legacy format. This is something I feel is needed because of the giant card pool that Legacy is, with including Panini's Pansy, Scorzy, and GT. Players definitely do get intimidated by the giant card pool, and I feel it's something that's definitely needed to help give people more ease about the format and also more information about it as well. So today we're going to start off with the Saiyan style cards. I'm going to go over the staples that you generally will see in just any Saiyan deck in general. And then I may do a video later on where I go in depth with the different masteries and which cards are actually generally used in that particular mastery itself. So first off, I'm going to start off with the Saiyan style events that you will see in any Saiyan deck. First one being Saiyan Fortitude. It is your styled sphere. It cancels the event and your opponent puts it in the discard pile. Now that's very key because a lot of cards have banish after use. This card specifically states it must go to the discard pile. And then if your opponent has more cards in their discard pile than you do, you may advance yourself a level. So it's good with wanting to get quick levels if you don't have anger, or if you don't want to banish to advance a level GT style. So it's a very good card. This is always a 3 of in any Saiyan deck. It's very rare that you would see less than 3. Next card would be Saiyan Truce card. It is the most broken Saiyan style card that was ever printed. It's a limit 1. It's an event that ends combat. Until the end of your next turn, you keep your cards, your opponent discards their card. Discards down to 2. So it's very helpful with card advantage on your opponent, especially if you're in a combat where you're going to get hit really hard. You definitely want to play this and get out of it as soon as possible. And again, you get to keep your cards until the end of your next turn. Okay, that's very important. So if your opponent was the one that declared the combat, you now get to keep your cards. They discard down to 2, and going into your next turn, you're getting a minimum of 3 additional cards to your hand. It is limit 1 per deck, banish after use, and it is an event, so it can be sphered. So keep that in mind. But again, it's one of the more bonkers Saiyan style cards that have ever been printed. Now I'm going to go over the physical attack cards that you generally are going to want to see in this format, especially against certain archetypes. They're very, very helpful. First one being Saiyan Severing Punch from Panini. It's a physical attack for AT plus 4, Endurance 2. Until the end of your next turn, until the end of your next turn, your opponent cannot gain more than 1 anger from card effects, and if it hits until the end of your next turn, your opponent cannot use effects to advance or lower them levels. This is very strong against Black Energetic Mastery, Saiyan Supreme Mastery, any type of those cards. They cannot advance a level from their mastery. Now, with Saiyan Supreme, it's a little different because they can banish 10 to advance a level. That's a mechanic, that's not a card effect. So that's a little more tricky, but stopping them from using, say, a Monkey Grip or Unleash, something of that nature, to advance a level, they can't do. So it's a very versatile and strong card in this format. Another card that is seen a lot in most Saiyan decks is Saiyan Destiny. It's physical attack for AT plus 3 stages. Stays in play to be used the second time. Removed from game banished after use. So it's action economy, gives you an extra attack to make them waste on blocking. So it's a very good card. I run it a lot in most of my decks. There's very few that I don't. As long as it fits into the scheme of what I'm wanting to do, it'll be in there. But there are a couple decks that I don't run it in. Next, Saiyan Beef. Physical attack for AT plus 3 stages. Your opponent cannot gain stages until the end of your next turn. This includes allies as well. So they cannot use cards that gain them stages. They can advance a level and gain stages that way, but they cannot actually use the card effect that says gain X stages, etc. until the end of your next turn. So it's a very strong card. Helps with stage locking your opponent. So it's a very, again, it's a situational card that you generally are going to see in most Saiyan decks, just not all, because it doesn't work with every deck. But 99% of the time, you're going to make it work with the deck regardless. This card, I feel, is probably the strongest Saiyan style attack out there, or physical attack out there, which is Saiyan Overhead Pound. It's a mass physical, so you play it face down, say mass physical attack, and then your opponent decides to block it or not. If they block it, it stops all floating effects that stop your attacks for the rest of combat. So basically, if they throw a time and then you throw this attack, it's blocked, the time effect now ends for the rest of combat. So that could make your opponent vulnerable if that was their only block and they were counting on that to keep them through the combat. If it hits, you can discard a card from your hand to search that deck for a Saiyan Energy Combat card and put it in your hand. Any Saiyan Energy Combat card and put it in your hand. And it's a beefy physical. It's for AT plus 7. So it's a strong attack. Even if they know it's coming, they may not want to block. They may not want to let it hit. Another card that I've been playing more recently is Saiyan Charge. It's a physical attack for flat 7 stages. If my power rating is higher than my opponent's, they cannot use their Mastery nor their Sensei deck card for the rest of combat. This is good against just about any deck. Red Rush, Orange, Blue Saga Mastery, Freestyle, Blue Saga Mastery. Just about any Mastery out there it's good against. The Sensei part is good against Omega Sensei or Master Roshi Sensei. Some Sensei of that nature, it's really good against. It is a very strong card, especially against Orange. Orange doesn't like it very much. Because, again, most decks are centered around their Mastery. So, it, for one turn, can cause havoc, especially with Black Energetic that wants to get rid of the cards in your hand, discard pile, life deck to advance a level. It's going to shut them down for at least a turn. The next card I'm going to go with is Saiyan Youth Aggression. It's a focused physical attack from Lost Episodes for AT plus 7, or AT plus 5, and your opponent automatically loses 6 stages to minimum of 0 when you play the card. So it helps with lowering them down to 0. It's focused, so it goes through Omni blocks such as Time, Epic Battle of Saiyans, Black Buffer block, any other Omni block that would block an attack, it's going to go through still. And it's AT plus 5, so it's going to be pretty beefy. Now I want to go over the blocks that you're generally going to see in Saiyan. First one is Saiyan Stop. It's a physical combat card that's an Omni block. Stop physical or energy, gain 7 stages. Non-interactable, basically in any Saiyan deck that I've ever played. Also, Saiyan Brace. Energy combat, Omni block, stop physical or energy. Raise your anger 1. You may search left deck for a Saiyan Truce card, put it in your hand. So if you're in a combat where you need to get out and you didn't draw into Truce, you can go get it with this card and raise your anger 1 and then banish after use. I run that as a 2 of in my decks. I feel 3 is a little bit much, but again, it's all personal preference, really. I feel that it's not always necessarily needed, but again, it's personal preference. The next card is probably hands down the best Saiyan physical block out there because it is so versatile. It shuts off so many different cards. It's Saiyan Power Block from Babidi Saga. Stop physical attack. For rest of combat, any card effects that stop you from using cards, such as Trunks level 4, Super Saiyan effect, or any other cards of that nature that says you cannot perform an attack, cannot perform such attack, now ends. Or even Saiyan Domination. Say you're going against another Saiyan deck. Saiyan Domination is the energy that if you're higher than your opponent's power rating, they can't use events. You throw this card to block one of their attacks, you can now use events. So it's a very versatile card. It helps a lot with Trunks level 4 to stop you from using energies, Super Saiyan Effect, Saiyan Domination, Saiyan Power Punch. Another card says if your opponent hasn't performed an attack in the previous attack phase, they cannot use freestyle cards that don't stop attacks. So it's a very versatile card. It shuts off a lot of effects out there, and it's guaranteed to be in any Saiyan deck. I can almost 99.9% chance tell you it's going to be in there. Another card that I've been playing more recently, just because Saiyans have higher power ratings than most personalities out there, especially with GT, is Saiyan Perfect Defense. Stop a physical attack, and you only use it if you're higher than your opponent. Stop a physical attack, stays in play to be used as many times as you want for the rest of the turn. Basically, it's a stop all. Okay, it's limit 1 per deck, banish after use. Now we're going to get into the energy combat cards, energy attack cards. So, any Saiyan deck, you're going to see Saiyan Power Beam. Energy attack, costing 2 stages, doing 4 life cards. For arrested combat, your opponent cannot use their mastery or drills. This is the bane of existence for Orange, Busaga, or just Orange in general, because generally Orange decks are going to be drill heavy. So them not being able to use their mastery is key, and also shutting off their drills is definitely key. It is really good against Red Rush, Black Energetic. Like I said, generally any deck that needs to thrive off of it, use its mastery to thrive, is going to be affected by it. Next card I'm going to go over is probably... I usually run 2 of that because there's so many different ways for that to be shut off, and especially against drill decks that are hero. So I generally run it as a 2 of, only because there is another card that can help me get around it, which is, say, an Energy Focus. It's an energy attack costing 2 stages, does 3 life cards of damage. The good thing about it is it allows me to choose 3 cards in play that are not personality or masteries and shut them off. Basically give them no power. So if my Power Beam has been shut off where they say, oh, you can't play it with Cut Off Guard Drill, or they've used another card that stops me from playing it, I can shut that card off with Saiyan Energy Focus, as long as it's not a mastery that's causing that, or it's a personality that's causing that. So it can shut off Alt Namek 7, which is shutting off my mastery. I can choose a lot of different things out there for that particular card. Next would be Saiyan Domination, energy attack for 4 life cards, costing 2 stages. If I'm higher, my opponent cannot use events. Pretty self-explanatory. I've wiped hands with this card before, and it's not fun. I lead with it, and a lot of times there's like 4 or 5 events in their hand. They can't do anything, especially in Orange. Orange uses a lot of events to do non-damage effects, such as Orange Destruction, Orange Juke, which is an Omni block that stays in play to be used 3 or 4 times. So it is a very versatile card. I would definitely run it in any Saiyan deck nowadays. Next card I'm going to go over is Saiyan Monkey Outrage. It's a masked energy attack, so you play it face down, say masked energy. Your opponent decides if they want to block it or not. If they decide to block it, which they probably should, for the fact is, if it hits after damage, banish all physical combat cards from your opponent's discard pile. Just straight out. That kills Red Rush Mastery, that kills Black Energetic, kills a lot of decks that want to feed off of its discard pile. And even if it doesn't hit, I can still discard a card from my hand to go search my deck for a same physical combat card and put it in my hand. So, again, very versatile. Allows me to go and grab stuff as I needed. So, it's definitely a 3 of in any Saiyan deck that you're going to be running against. If they're not running it, they may need to rethink about running it. And the next card that I run 2 of always, Saiyan Energy Bullet. Energy attack costing 2 stages, doing 4 life cards. Raise my anger 1. For the rest of combat, all damage from your attacks, including this one, are unpreventable and are banished after use. Are banished. So it's straight up going to make all damage banished and unpreventable. They can't use endurance on it. So it's a very, very strong card, especially if you're going against like blue decks that run a lot of prevent. It's not gonna matter with that. And the one energy block that you're gonna see in just about any Saiyan deck, Saiyan Planet Explosion. Stop an energy attack. Stop all energies, yours and your opponent's, for the rest of combat. Okay. It's a It's a limit 1 card. It's a staple from day 1 since it first aired in Frieza Saga. So I would definitely play it in any deck. Now you have to be careful with that, because if you throw a Saiyan overhead pound and they end up stopping it, then that ends this floating effect, because it's stopping your attacks as well. So it shuts off that floating effect for yours and your opponent, because you can't choose which one gets shut off. It just shuts it all off because it's a floating effect. So you got to be a little careful with that. That's what I have for today. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything else you guys, or any cards that I missed you think would be noteworthy, let me know. Also, I'm going to do a video on every style with the staples, and then later on I plan to do a video where we go over all the different mastery cards and the staples that are generally going to be used in those type of decks. So let me know what you think. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and subscribe as well. Thanks guys, have a good one.